Evening all. As you can see, we made some progress the last time we were on with the tractor. The radiator's out, governor off, and like usual got carried away. We took the top water pipe and housing off and the exhaust and inlet manifold. Most of it came to bits alright. The bolts and nuts, well the nuts really, on the manifold were all seized in, had to use some heat to free them off, and in fact we snapped two, the back two, but we've managed to get them out. Used the Stiltons and a gentle bit of persuasion and have come out, so they've come out clean. So we're at the stage that you see. A few things are starting to show up. Surprised to see how much slack there is on the camshaft gear. I'm wondering, I can't tell just yet, but it might be that the gear has been bolted to the camshaft the wrong way round. That can happen. It's there's a chamfer. If you get the chamfer wrong, it doesn't quite lock onto the camshaft. So I'll be able to tell better once I take that out. Up to now, everything else I've seen on the block looks alright. The water galleries inside are fairly clean. There doesn't seem to be a lot of sludge inside it, which is quite unusual. I've seen them where they've been really full of muck and debris and rust, but that one does seem to be fairly clean. I'm just beginning to wonder if this tractor has actually run any time recently. There's a lot of things suggested it hasn't run for a long time. Some gears have got rust on them. The governor over here is extremely dry inside the housing, which suggests to me that it's not been run much recently. A lot of play. The heel's gone on the back of the two bevel gears, so that needs adjustment. The backlash, as I thought, is non-existent, and in fact those two gears are just to say serviceable. We'll know better once I try to shim it all back up. Also the governor weights are extremely loose in their fittings, to the point where, in fact they have been that loose, they've been touching the casing, which is not ideal, but there you go. That's what you get when you get to these old tractors. Things do wear out. So I'm thinking this hasn't been to bits in a long time. Also, some of the gaskets seem very original. This governor gasket to me looks very old. It's not a recent thing. He's still a bit shellac on the flaky shellac on it, so I don't think that's been off for a long time. And certainly the radiator, these have not. This hasn't been removed for a long time. So, there's one thing I forgot to say when removing these governors, and I did forget myself until I tried to remove it, was once you take all the bolts off around the outside, of course there's an oil connection in here which feeds the governor, that connects onto this fitting here, and of course the governor won't come off unless you slacken that off, which I did manage to forget about initially. There it is, yeah, just by the gear there. So once I got that slackened off, of course it just moved away, come away nicely. So I think the next job really, I think we'll take that cylinder head off, see how that's looking. My plan is, as I say, to strip it all down and then I'll refurbish the bits as we go on. Things like if the block has to be rebored, well, I can send that off and have it rebored, which can take a while. If perchance I have to find new pistons, well, you know, that takes time to acquire those, so So while I'm waiting for that, you're rebuilding or restoring something else. You might look and say, well, you know, that tractor paint's still pretty good on it, and it's coming to bits fairly easy, which it is, but I've been doing this for a long time and I've done my bit for ferrous oxide. Yes, it's very satisfying rebuilding a tractor from a heap of scrap, heap of rust, but I've done it a few times now, and I'm afraid I'm very selective on the tractors I buy to restore now. It's just, I like to find ones that have been restored or had some work done on them but never got finished, and this to me is one of those projects where I think it's never been finished, or if it has, it's never been used much. It must have clanked a bit with that camshaft gear being slack, and with those governors being as rough as they are, it must have been a noisy old thing. So there we are. It is what it is, as I keep saying. I have a BW that I've just recently imported from America. Now that one is very original. That has hardly any work on it, and it's a runner, it goes well. I have actually some video of it towing straw this summer, so I might just post them at some point. But it needs to come in for a light overhaul, there's a few jobs I'm doing on it. But no, I tend to be very selective of what I rebuild. You know, rusty tractors is alright, but the hard work getting them to bits. So, but anyway, back to this one. We'll have that cylinder head off next, and we'll keep you posted on what happens after that. Thanks for looking. Okay.